Hello again, it's Thursday night, and what I wanted to talk about tonight was something that I kind of had in the back of my head for a while. I don't remember where I originally heard of it, but I know I have read about it or heard about it word of mouth as kind of like a topic, not necessarily about paganism, which is what I normally would talk about, and I've got a few ideas, and I'd like to kind of step away from strictly instructional videos about paganism, and I want to kind of use paganism as like an underlying theme. So the topic I wanted to discuss is kind of hard to ask in a question. It's more like a discussion, but it's basically, I'm just going to say strictly Americans because that's what I know, because I'm American and I'm not familiar with other cultures, especially second and third world cultures. So let's just stick with American. What is, as Americans, what is our need and our strive as a culture to be perfect? Where do we get this notion of bigger is better, or more is better, or shiny things, expensive things, really, really big things? Like, where do we get that? Like, for example, I have a little crappy car, right? I want a new car. Not aesthetically. I want a car that runs, that is in better mechanical shape, that won't cost me a bomb every month when something breaks on it. Logically, I want a new car, not because I want a pretty car or a car that doesn't have dents in it, or a car with matching hubcaps. I want a car that works, and I don't care if it's $5,000 as long as it's nice. They're nicer than my car and it works. That's logic. Here's where I don't get. I want a Ford Fiesta. I want a nice green Ford Fiesta. I want the leather interior, the surround sound speakers, the spoiler on the back, etc., etc., etc. I don't understand that. Why can't we just be happy with something nice? Not extravagance. Like, I have this brand new cell phone, right? This is a little fancy. I had a flip phone, it only took pictures, didn't do texting or anything. Like, what's wrong with that? I mean, this was like a cheap upgrade, so I got it. But I don't need something that does this and can take videos and pictures and, have the photos like antiqued or like warped or anything. I don't need to send text messages. I don't need to go on the internet. I don't need a GPS in my phone. It's a phone. I don't understand the extravagance, the need to have fancier things, right? Why can't we be happy with what we have, right? That's what I don't understand. And that's kind of what I wanted y'all to think about. Why as Americans, why is bigger better? Why do we always want the next big thing? Why can't we be happy with what we have? The other part of this is the fact that, are we really happy on the whole? Can we actually say, yes, I'm happy? I'm sure a lot of you can. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not really asking if, are you happy? I'm asking as a general kind of like critiquing of our American culture. So many Americans are unhappy. In my personal opinion, yes, everybody, if they're married, the number one thing you fight about is finances and money. But I really have no opinion on that specifically. But I really honestly think Americans in general aren't happy with their lives because they're always focused on the next big thing. It's materialism. It's the over-the-top, excessive materialism, right? Like, I grew up, I'll just use my life as an example. I grew up in half a duplex. It was like 1,300 square feet. It wasn't that big. The rooms were small, but it was a house. We had nice paint on the wall. We had pergo flooring. We had 1.5 baths. We had plenty of space, right? And we had a full basement and a nice big yard. Like, it's small. It's not the nicest thing because it's middle class America. Then, when I was a teenager, my parents bought a huge house, like 2,500 square feet house, you know? They didn't need that. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have, because they can do what they want. They, were smart about it. But I'm thinking, they don't need that. They could have put their money elsewhere, or not done anything with it at all, and put it all into retirement. They got new cars, but I don't understand why that's needed. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Why do we do that? I honestly think that just makes us miserable. I mean, I'm 24, so maybe when I'm 50, or, at least in my 30s and 40s, as a homeowner, possibly a parent, with a mortgage and, like, new car, not my shitty Hyundai, I'll have a better idea of that. But just observing my parents and the older generations above me, who are paying for my education too, I don't know, I can't say that they're unhappy, but my point is, as a culture, we're unhappy because we're focused too much on materialism. We're focused too much on, well, I have this small kind of, it's okay, but I want that new thing that came out. I don't want the 101, I want the 401, or whatever. I want the big one. You don't need the big one. You don't need the brand new one. This will work fine for like 10 more years. Not the phone, but like in theory, something would work fine and it'll be fine. Okay? So, don't... I am going to say that if we focus less on material possessions, yes, I have a lot of things, but this is 24 years worth of things in a room that's 11 feet by 11 feet. Okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about we need bigger houses, and I think I'm quoting George Carlin. This is a George Carlin thing. You need bigger houses, and you need a bigger house and a bigger house from all of your shit. You get more shit, you need a bigger place to put your shit. Why do we do that? It's only going to make us miserable. Because what's going to happen is most of us who are middle class and don't make more than $50,000-$60,000-ish a year, okay, 40 to 60, I guess that's like middle to upper middle class. I mean, I'm in Massachusetts. I can't speak for the whole country. But for those of us that are middle class, or even lower middle class, we are not going to be able to afford leather seat luxury cars. We're not going to be able to afford more than a 3-bedroom cape or a ranch house. Mortgages are ridiculous around here because it is Massachusetts. Education is expensive. Things are expensive around here in my area. So instead of saying I need to have this 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 4-acre yard, or else I'm not worth anything. My life has been shit because I can only afford this 2-bedroom ranch house. I can't afford this huge thing, so I'm not worth anything. I'm not like good enough. I'm not good enough unless I can afford this big expensive house, or I'm not important enough if I don't have this big expensive cars, because here I am driving a little Ford Focus, and the industrial park I work in, everybody's driving Mercedes-Benz. I'm not as good as them, so I need to have equal to what they have. It's like, no, it's a car. It gets you from A to B. It's fine, I promise. So, how can I tie this into paganism? Paganism. I can't speak for all pagans because I am only Celtic-y. I'm only Celtic. And, I mean, let's be practical here. Paganism seems to be pretty simplistic. We don't focus on objects. We focus on spirits. I have tools, yes, but they're not, like, hugely expensive. I buy my candle holders at Walmart because I can, and it saves me money. I don't need the big expensive anything to worship my gods, basically. And you can translate that into other aspects of life, I don't need a BMW to be important in my job. I need a car that gets me from A to B. I don't need a huge expensive house because I make $80,000 a year and can afford it. You know, it's not important. What is important is your health, you know, your family. That's another thing. Family, right? I would honestly I'd rather had stayed living in the half a duplex so my parents and me and my sister could have been able to take a vacation or two, you know, a couple of vacations. I would rather have had that, in theory, than have had a bigger house and 2 new cars over the course of a couple of years. You know, I would rather have had that, you know, as growing up. You know, and I'm thinking ahead. I'm going to graduate college in a year. Less than a year, because summer's like more than halfway over. I'm going to graduate college with a BA in English and a minor in religious studies, and I'm going to be teaching high school. Me and my boyfriend, we may be able, let's say we can afford $1,000 for an apartment. Just because we can, in theory, afford it, I don't want to go and rent the most expensive apartment in Providence just because we can. That's stupid. What happens if one of us gets sick? You know, we have to get a new car. That's money we're putting into an apartment that we don't need. You know what I mean? What's wrong with a $700 apartment? And then you can put away extra money in case something happens. That's my point. Simplicity. You will be happier, I promise. Yeah, you may not be able to afford awesome, huge things, but do you really need them? You don't. I don't need anything fancy. I have a 10-year-old TV. Who cares? I hardly watch it. That's the thing. I don't need one of the new fandangled flat screen TVs, you know? I'm happy with what I got. Yes, it's kind of frustrating when my car breaks down every 3 months. I don't need a fancy car. I just need a car that runs. So that's my spiel tonight. Simplicity. You'll be happier. You know, you don't need material things. You don't need that. You may want it, but you don't need it. And this is what we're talking about. Is that going to make your life actually better? Is your life going to be improved? The joy of it will wear off in a few weeks, and then it'll be just like everything else in your life, and you want the next big thing. And you won't be happy because you're striving for things, and you're never satisfied. So that's my thing. Simplicity, non-materialism. Your life will be significantly happier and simpler. I mean, unless you like a complicated life. So that's it. You know, roll that around in your head. See what you think. Have a good night.